Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and happy Monday. Hope you're all having a fantastic start to your week. And what better way to start off a week than to combine two companies that when they gather in the same sentence, it makes Xbox fans in particular lose their minds. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Sega. Sega is the company that acquisition talks always jump to. The reason for that is because they have the Japanese market that Xbox is so desperately searching for. There's also a wealth of IP that Xbox fans really have yet to experience, but there's also a legacy there with the likes of Jet Set Radio Future and much more that has been brought to the platform since it first began. So there's a lot of meeting of the minds here, and just late last night as we record this video, Xbox and Sega announced a new strategic alliance. We're going to be diving deep into this because at face value, it seems like just a cloud-based partnership, but there's much more that's been amounting to this, and there is the possibility that something could transpire within the next couple of years. So we're going to gather all that information and discuss today. And if you're new here and you're looking for more Xbox or Sega information, consider subscribing. I've seen the analytics. Some of you just fly by, check out the video, and you don't subscribe. I'm holding it to you now. You're going to subscribe right this moment. You did it? Okay, cool. All right, let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk Sega. So this all began with a press release by Sega, which is titled Sega and Microsoft to explore strategic alliance to create new strategic titles for Sega and establish a next-generation development environment. Sega Corporation and Microsoft Corporation have agreed in principle a strategic alliance that explores ways for Sega to produce large-scale global games in a next-generation development environment built on Microsoft's Azure cloud platform. The alliance would form a key part of Sega's mid to long-term strategy, allowing the business to move forward with Super Game, a new initiative for developing new and innovative titles where the key focuses are global, online, community, and IP utilization. It explains more about the connected environment and gaming growing, but what's most important is the final sentence. This proposed alliance represents Sega looking ahead, and by working with Microsoft to anticipate such trends as they accelerate further in future, the goal is to optimize development processes and continue to bring high-quality experiences to players using Azure cloud technologies. Microsoft and Sega have agreed upon the foundation for this alliance, and through mutual cooperation will look to build further technological evolutions with areas such as network infrastructure and communication tools required for global online services being a key priority. Additionally, by shifting to a next-generation development platform, Sega can effectively adapt to diversifying work styles and potential infrastructure changes. There's a lot already to process, and we haven't even gotten into the meat of this conversation. So one thing here is just pure self-sustainment by Sega, and that cannot go unaddressed before we get into probably the more exciting stuff for a lot of you, which is exclusives, Game Pass, acquisition talks. But in reality, the world changed drastically, especially game development, early last year with the pandemic. We've heard it time and time out to the point of it being nauseating how difficult game development has become thanks to the pandemic, thanks to the shift from working in studio to work from home environments. Now with cloud technology, Sega can effectively offer someone a job and say, you could work from home from this job, or you could actually go to the studio, and they can adapt based off what their employee wants, which makes them a much more attractive place to work at. That is one of the main reasons they did this. Not only that, but with the games industry shifting, as this press release states, this is looking far into the future, like 5 years into the future. And the reason I specify 5 is because that's sort of the timeline that Sega put on this Super Game that we'll talk about later on in their own strategic portfolio. So a lot of what's happening here, yes, is not going to affect the consumer, especially for many years. It's just an announcement of an alliance. And it's why I said, don't read too deep into it like tomorrow there's going to be an acquisition. But what's happening is Xbox is buttering up Sega. Let's be real here. There's a lot of things that are in the tea leaves that we can read and see that that relationship is growing stronger. And this certainly will be a key component to that. This is not the first time we've heard about Azure cloud technology powering development. There was a recent leak about a new Xbox MMO that is going to be using cloud-based technology, and that cloud-based technology is then going to be forwarded to Hideo Kojima to make his own cloud-based game. Microsoft Flight Simulator made strong use of the cloud. Crackdown 3, its multiplayer was to use the cloud. There's been a lot of cloud-based development for a while. This is the next step forward. I understand some people are resistant of it, especially I get it as someone who runs a retro channel. Yes, there's a lot of people who want everything to remain physically on disc, no online only stuff. I feel like that's where the industry's trending, but just know these are some of the main reasons I can see why Sega has partnered up. Now on to the fun stuff, okay? I got all the stupid business stuff out of the way. Let's talk games, let's talk exclusivity, let's talk Game Pass. Let's read between the lines as well. So here is Sarah Bond's most underrated worker at Xbox, by the way. She spearheads all the Game Pass deals. She's there on a gaming level, and she's there in this press release here, where even though it states Microsoft, you bet your butt she's all in on that Xbox. And here's what she said in the press release. Sega has played such an iconic role in the gaming industry and has been a tremendous partner over the years. We look forward to working together as they explore new ways to create unique gaming experiences for the future using cloud technologies. Together, we will reimagine how games get built, hosted, and operated with the goal of adding more value to players and Sega alike. If you've never heard of Sarah Bond, you just gotta look up any video she's a part of, and most times, she is announcing something for Game Pass. So when she says more value, to me, once again, reading between the lines here, I would be very surprised if this did not mean that more Sega games will come to Game Pass at least day one. We're actually seeing that happen with one that I wasn't aware until very recently was a Sega published game. That's Football Manager. Do not sleep on Football Manager. I've learned this is a huge game. So getting this day one on Game Pass, really big deal. So that partnership is getting strong. Meanwhile, Sarah Bond said on her Twitter account, and I think this one's a little bit more telling, my love for Sega and their games date back to playing on my Dreamcast. It's been a delight to lead our partnership with Sega. And I'm thrilled to take it to the next level, creating novel gaming experiences using the power of Azure. Can't wait to share more in the future. This is not the first time that Azure has enabled Sega to do something, such as bringing Phantasy Star Online to multiple regions, where they state Sega started the service of the MMORPG named Phantasy Star Online 2 in North America. As of October 2020, the global version of the game is played in more than 185 countries and regions worldwide. The company is required to provide this service in an area far wider than Japan without causing lags while players are enjoying actions in the game, and that is why it chose Microsoft Azure as its cloud platform. And if you didn't know, Phantasy Star Online 2, shout out to that, by the way, pretty underrated MMORPG, but this was exclusive to the Xbox platform for quite some time, still is, as we are currently recording this video. So if anything, I think this will result in whatever this super game is to be day one Game Pass or exclusive in some capacity. So what we're going to do is take a look at the strategic portfolio for Sega that they revealed in May 2021. And that's where I got the 5-year timeline and all of this stuff. And then we'll do a little bit more deep digging. So as you can see, this is the portfolio. And for some of their key strategies, you can see on the top is the high growth potential, on the bottom is low growth potential, and on the left and right is high and low profitability. Now, on the top left, one of their strategies to growing Sega is to make existing IPs into global brands. That's Sonic, Persona 5, Phantasy Star Online 2, Yakuza, and Total War. I want to pause there. I would argue Sonic is probably the biggest out of all of them, much to my dismay. But Yakuza is bigger than it's ever been, and that's thanks to Game Pass. Game Pass really put this one on the map. Full series is available on Game Pass. If you haven't played it, go ahead and play it. Same thing with Phantasy Star Online 2. It's bigger than it's ever been before. That's through Azure, that's through Xbox exclusivity, that's through marketing to help it come to the West. That all happened thanks to Xbox and Sega working together. So two of these global brands have entered that state because of Xbox partnerships. Persona, come on. It's about time, just bring it to Xbox. But anyway, we're seeing them already work together to make some of these brands more global. Then you look at their 5-year priority, and it says, Strategy 2, creation of super game, creation of titles which can be expanded globally, as well as in their next 5 years, expansion of past IP libraries, utilization of past IPs, and supporting subscriptions, which we've already seen them put into effect by adding the Sega Genesis collection to the Nintendo Switch Online subscription service. So you can already see they're doing some of that. I have a little bit of a theory that we're going to see Jet Set Radio be added to Back Compat because I don't know how that's missing. That was an Xbox launch title, and it's not there in Back Compat. With the anniversary coming up, I just have this theory that they will announce it there. Time will tell on that one. But we see Super Game is this expanded upon globally thing. That could be a platform, but it could also just be a game, a online IP, because they mention in their press release, it mentions global, community, IP utilization, those types of things, which would normally go hand in hand with live service, which guess who loves live service games? Game Pass, let's be honest. Meanwhile, another part of Sega's expansion in the next 5 years is the utilization of IP assets. Some of the dormant ones are Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Virtua Fighter, Altered Beast, Rez, Space Channel 5, House of the Dead, Panzer Dragoon, Streets of Rage, Knights, Soul Hackers, and they talk about remastering, remaking, or rebooting any of these. And we've actually seen Jet Set Radio receive a small remaster on PlayStation 3 as well as PS Vita. You can play that there. Virtua Fighter lies completely dormant, as does Crazy Taxi. We know Streets of Rage is back, and given that they're teaming up with Xbox for a super game, which according to their own portfolio was high growth potential but low profitability, and now they're looking at dormant IP and exploring those, I could see Game Pass being the perfect avenue for Sega to say, hey, we can grow these brands and ourselves at the same time as remaining profitable. So as we saw with Yakuza's next-gen version being exclusive day one when the Series X dropped, to Sega really loving Game Pass, and now we're seeing them do Football Manager, one of their surprisingly biggest games, day one on Game Pass. We're seeing them announce a strategic alliance through cloud development. They're coming together more and more, and that's not accounting for the legacy that already existed at the launch of the original Xbox. Now, the one sort of squash piece of all of this has to do with Sony and Xbox teaming up for something a little bit similar, but as you read the fine print, you realize it's a little bit different. So Sony and Microsoft announced in 2019 that they want to explore a strategic partnership, something that raised a lot of eyebrows. Sony Corp and Microsoft Corp announced on Thursday that the two companies will partner on new innovations to enhance customer experiences in their direct-to-consumer entertainment platforms and AI solutions. Under the memorandum of understanding signed by the parties, the two companies will explore joint development of future cloud solutions in Microsoft Azure to support their respective game and content streaming services. In addition, the two companies will explore the use of current Microsoft Azure data center-based solutions for Sony's game and content streaming services. By working together, the companies aim to deliver more enhanced entertainment experiences for their worldwide customers. These efforts will also include building better development platforms for the content creator community. And funny enough, Jim Ryan took an interview after all of this saying, "We could conceivably use the cloud for our technical infrastructure, but the cloud gaming experience we're offering will be unique and only on PlayStation." The reason I bring all of this up is because while the partnership's different and it's more so sharing solutions like, hey, we figured this out through the cloud, yada, 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 one thing that needs to be known is even though Sega is working with Xbox on this and using their cloud-based technologies to achieve this super game, they don't owe Xbox something technically. I think the idea here is to butter them up. And if Xbox ends up acquiring Sega, it's almost going to be a masterclass in how to butter up a company, right? You look at the legacy that's already pre-established. There have been generations of Xbox leaders and Sega leaders that have already passed through. But you look at what's happened recently, right? You look at the Game Pass deals, Sega's enthusiasm about it, how 2 Point Hospital has excelled more than it ever had before because it was on Game Pass, to the point of bringing one of their bigger brands day one. You look at the cloud-based alliance. You look at how they consistently team up. Again, not even accounting for any type of legacy there. And if you keep moving things forward here, this is going to be a long-standing partnership with Xbox. And when you have Sarah Bond spearheading, leading that, as she is so clearly stated, I think that very much shows that this is going to be a Game Pass-oriented deal years down the line. The things like exclusivity and acquisitions will be up in the air. We shall see. I think that's a lot more of a money deal, of course. But if they end up acquiring Sega at the end of this road, it will be a masterclass, in my opinion. It'll be very impressive on how they quickly butter them up and wrap them into their ecosystem. But at the bare minimum, you've now got a pretty steady cloud presence building in Japan. Funny enough, Sarah Bond stated at Xbox's Tokyo Game Show that they're working with 200 Japanese developers. We now have Hideo Kojima signing a letter of intent to work with Xbox through this cloud streaming technology, which is going to be passed on from an MMO they're already working on. And not only that, but they're signing a cloud-based deal with Sega. So they're absolutely tackling Japan in a way that this seems on the more aggressive front, and I like to see this. If anything, this is good news for that moving forward. And I hope at the bare minimum, what we can see from all of this is that Sega will bring their games to Xbox day one. Not even Game Pass, not exclusivity, but stuff like Persona 6, the next Yakuza game, so on and so forth, just like we saw with Judgment, will be there day one alongside the other games that are releasing on other platforms. It's all we could really ask for at this point in time. And I'm hoping that Xbox has moved their relationship to that point where it's a priority for Sega. Time will tell on that, but I imagine that won't be a worry for too much longer. What do you think of Sega and Xbox's strategic alliance? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm certainly looking forward to reading your thoughts. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons and all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.